All right, we're live. Welcome, everybody. It's an exciting morning and an exciting opportunity to go speak to all the folks here. This is sort of a town hall kickoff for Genesis League Sports, specifically the soccer product. I'm excited to be here, and I'm joined by a whole bunch of other folks. Hey, and so sorry, I have my kid in the background here, but let's see, we got a whole new product line. We have a whole new set of things. We have a whole lot that's coming up, and I'm really excited to go talk about this offering and what we're doing here. Can the team go and kind of introduce themselves and what their roles are here and what they're working on?
Sure, I can go first. I'm Hytham. I am a senior product manager at Genesis League Sports. So I, help drive the product direction. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
My name is Daniel, or Dante. I'm head of engineering and currently head of this engineering of this project. Just basically developing all the little components and gameplays and game events that everyone can interact with. That's it.
I'm Kay, and I'm on the marketing team and just really enjoying working with such a great team on an exciting new project.
Awesome. I'm Liam, or Chatter. I'm the Director of Marketing and Growth over at Genesis League Sports.
And I'm Alicia, or Chicklet, and I head up the product team at Splinterlands and GLS, and have been working closely with this team. So we got some really great stuff coming at you guys.
All right, so maybe you can start, Hytham or Don Gorgon on Discord here. Maybe you can go tell us like where is the project at? So maybe just give me kind of like a high level, what is this whole thing? And then try to tell me like where is the project currently at?
Yeah, sure. So to kind of like, let's kind of start at a 3,000-foot view and then kind of dive into the details. So, you hear a lot about Genesis League Sports. Okay, so what is Genesis League Sports? Well, essentially, Ag and Matt noticed that sports gaming in general is in need essentially of a platform or an opportunity to be able to explore with NFTs, to play to earn games, etc. And so the idea came from there that we should build a whole ecosystem for sports gaming, and that's pretty much what Genesis League Sports is. It is an entire ecosystem that allow essentially all these different sports leagues and sports organization to be able to essentially onboard into Web3, onboard into the NFT space and the play to earn space in an easy way. And then most importantly, since it's an ecosystem, and we'll talk about this in a second, brands and sports leagues are able to actually cross-pollinate and access the other sports fan, because our goal at Genesis League Sports is not to just build one game, but hopefully in the future build few of them and partner with different sports organization. And so that allows for us to have a variety of fans, but then also for the sports organization as well to have access to all these fans that will play the different games. So what's so special about Genesis League Sports? Well, the first thing is that one of the key design decisions that we wanted to do for Genesis League Sports is make sure that all the gamers have the tools and easy access to all these different games in a way that does not disrupt their playing or their gaming. And so Genesis League Sports, we have a one single sign-on, and we use that for all the different, hopefully, games in the future. So now we are working with MLSPA, but we are hoping in the future, hopefully, to get more clients. And as we have different games, it's important to have one single sign-on that allows you to kind of bounce around between the games without having to register or create a new account, move your tokens, whatnot, or NFTs. So from that perspective, that's one of the key design decisions that we wanted to do, is provide like a layer, which is Genesis League Sports, with all these different kind of design decisions that promote the interconnectivity of all these different apps in mind. So that's kind of like one of the biggest thing that we actually kind of, from a design perspective, thought about. The second one, which I'll talk about in a little second in the white paper, is obviously the economy and the tokens, right? So we have 3 tokens that kind of support the entire ecosystem, it allows you to earn in one game and then take those earnings and play in another game and kind of like bounce around. So that's the whole idea here of having 3 tokens for the entire ecosystem, is that we are able to support all these different games with one single one. And that allows us to essentially like have a seamless experience as far as like moving around your assets, etc. So
And one thing I wanted to add about that is that, because it's the Splinterlands, mothership corporation that's doing this, there are a lot of questions about like, why didn't you guys just build all of this into Splinterlands? And one of the big problems to me is that, the white paper for Splinterlands didn't really take into account building in lots of other games. So, where would all the reward mechanisms come from? There's not really like a lot of SBS that's still in that white paper that's left to go. And then it also wasn't like you don't really fulfill the fantasy of like running a soccer club or running your own sports team by being part of like a fantasy wizard and orc, genre. So it felt like they were disparate or like separate groups. And then secondly, there just weren't funds that were available in the white paper to go do this. So part of this is we said, hey, look, this is really like its own separate thing, and we tried to honor that. So rather than shoehorn this whole sports league into Splinterlands, we said, all right, we're going to make it a separate thing, but we also got to honor the fact that none of this would be possible if it wasn't for the Splinterlands community. So we decided, when we were looking at the initial supply of tokens, there would be exactly no pre-sale. So there's no pre-sale. There's no like investor VC class that's going to be dumping tokens on top of you guys. There's no pre-sale, but there is an airdrop, and that airdrop goes to people that are owning and holding and staking SPS. And we did that because it's a way to stay grateful and honor the fact that this game wouldn't be possible, and we wouldn't be able to do this if it weren't for the Splinterlands community. So it gets complicated because there's the Splinterlands and Genesis League. There's the Splinterlands Foundation. Some of this stuff gets a little bit complicated, but ultimately, all the partners and all of the groups that were here, from those that are creating and issuing the token to those that operate the business to a lot of the community members, we recognize that this wouldn't be possible without Splinterlands. And so that's the way that this thing is going to roll out, where it is a different token ecosystem, but 20% of the initial token supply is going to the SBS stakers. Did I say all that correctly? Did I miss anything for that, Dawn?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, I'll go through it again and kind of rehash it in a little bit more kind of more details as far as the numbers and all that as I kind of do a little quick walkthrough. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to just kind of take a second. I think it's important for everyone to understand like the vision around Genesis League Sports. It's that ecosystem that is going to allow us to build, the MLSPA, Genesis League Soccer MLSPA game, but then also in the future as we look into partner with other sports organization, have the infrastructure that is reusable, that allow us to create a database or catalog of games where people can essentially sign on in one game, play, move to the other game without any friction. So that's kind of the higher vision. And we definitely, as some of you might know, we announced the MLSPA partnership with Genesis League Soccer. That's our first partnership. So we are looking into developing a game, a play to earn game, pretty much like what we call internally an RPG style game of soccer meets a little bit of manager principles. So it's very fun. I cannot wait to share the white paper, which will be shared essentially a week before pack sale. So I want everyone in the community to read it first, digest it before buying packs. And I think that you guys are going to be super excited about some of these concepts that we're introducing. Some of it is cutting edge, even in the soccer gaming world. So
yeah, let's talk a little bit about like the dates, because there are a couple that are set. So the Genesis League Sports white paper is out. That's already out there. That's already done. Players can already contemplate that. That's available at GenesisLeagueSports.com. And then, so then the soccer white paper specifically, when is that coming out?
October 11th is, I'll post it 1 week exactly before the October 18th back sale date. So we'll
So
have
that's
a
the
week.
next question. So the pack sale is going to be October 18th. So
Correct.
it's really not that many weeks. You know, we're not super far away from this thing.
Nope.
1, 2, 3, or 4. You know, we're within a month. You know, like
Yep.
this is pretty close to where we're at now.
And you heard it
But,
from the first, the first, like the first GLX airdrop for SPS holder will kick off on October 25th, a week after that. So we
yeah,
will
that
be.
was the next question. When token, and then when do we get them, and how does that all work? So
Yeah.
like there's an airdrop. What's a player got to do to receive the airdrop? How does that work?
Totally, yeah. So what we're doing is daily snapshots of SPS stakeholders. We take essentially the amount staked, and you'll receive a GLX proportional to the amount staked of SPS across the SPS pool. So what
And we're
people
doing
need,
that for a year, right? It's kind of like the
yeah,
airdrop that we did for you know, collection
correct,
power and assets and Splinterlands.
correct, yeah. So 100 million 1 year. Um, don't forgot the math, but I think it's around 270K per day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Airdrop GLX. And again, one of the most important thing is this is the first time GLX is in circulation, and it will be for SPS holders. So in other words, SPS holders actually will own GLX as far as like they are the first people to actually receive it. Now, if we look a little further, sometime in November, we'll also introduce GLX Staken. So as you get these airdrops from October 25th until sometimes in November, then and sometimes in November, you can stake those GLX token and you get essentially more GLX for staking those. The staking rewards are 100 million also as well over 12 months. And the reason why we did it for 12 months is because we want to a lot of the concepts we want to leverage from Splinterlands, right? Like staking is an integral part of the SPL game. So we want to do the same thing. After 1 year, all of our staking will move into the game itself. You'll be able to stake in the game as you're playing. So the staking will last for 12 months, 100 million, and yeah, so pretty much like the same formula as the airdrop. And that's again another opportunity to stake your tokens and get more GLX. And at that point, really, still all the supply that has been out is strictly pretty much like SPS holders in some ways because we're not planning to airdrop it to anyone else. Well, yeah, like we're not looking in any other airdrop. The only people that are getting a free airdrop is the SPS community.
All right. So let's try to figure out how that distribution works. So can you I know that this is more about the soccer product, but I think we still need to talk high level about what's happening with Genesis League sports overall. So can you tell us like a little bit about the high level of you know, there are 3 tokens. What are those tokens? And then what's the initial distribution of those tokens as they go?
Yep. So yeah, so we have 3 tokens, GLX, and then GLUSD and GLGT. So GLX is our staking governance token. GLUSD is our stable token, and then Genesis League Game Time is essentially a reward token you will essentially receive when you stake GLX or when you have a validator node. So if let's focus on GLX, I think it's the most important one because it kind of trickles the other 2. So
And
GLX will,
let me add one comment first. There's parallels in the Splinterlands ecosystem. So if you're coming from Splinterlands, GLX is like SPS, GLUSD is similar to DEC, and then vouchers and game time have that same kind of functionality. So if you're used to the Splinterlands stuff of SPS, DEC, and vouchers, now you have GLX, GLUSD, and game time. Take it from there. So tell me more about what they do. Let's now assume that they're not Splinterlands players and make sure that they get what these different things are.
Absolutely, yeah. So GLX is our governance token. So if you look at the distribution in the white paper, the team is not getting anything. Like Aggie said, no VC, no one is getting this supply. In fact, this supply is pretty much like going in the DAO's hand. When the DAO is set up, the idea is the DAO will be able to decide on a lot of these things, which we detail in the white paper. So so there is 2 billion tokens for GLX. At a high level, we left 1.4 billion for future partnerships. Again, the Genesis League sports team wants to onboard, hopefully in the future, several sports league, and we need to have a supply in the future that is accountable for those partnerships. So we left 1.4 billion on the side for future partnerships. Now, just a reminder here, we will have a DAO, and the DAO will have a saying of how these things get distributed to which games. In the future, if we want to change the rewards for a certain game versus another game, that's a DAO proposal, and the DAO makes sure that whatever works for the DAO is getting implemented. So now the other 600 million is what we're using essentially to kind of like kick off the liquidity and all that for GLX token. So we have 100 million for stake and rewards. We have 100 million for airdrop. We have 100 million for liquidity provider rewards. So as we progress with GLX, we're going to create incentive for providing liquidity for GLX. And that's something that is going to come sometime in November, December. And we want to be able to incentivize people to provide liquidity of GLX against common pair like Hive, ETH, and BNB. So 100 million will be used for that. So if you notice, there is 100 million. In the beginning, we're only looking to do 3. So it's technically only 60 million. But again, we're leaving 40 million from that 100 million for the DAO to decide in the future. Maybe they want to add the GLX SPS pair. They want to add GLX against any other pair that they might wish. The idea is that we're planning here for scalability and also flexibility to allow the DAO to change these things to be able to make the decisions once the DAO is implemented and all that. Validator rewards, those are for Validator. This is something that will come in 2023. So we are working, we'll have the test net in Q1 and the main net in Q2. Now, the biggest one, which is
No, hold on. Just what is the validator? We gotta assume that not everybody here understands what these terms are or what they mean. So can you describe a little about like what is a validator node and what function does it serve?
Yep. So a validator is literally just a piece of software that essentially verify blocks in the chain itself. So like so as each block on the Hive blockchain is essentially like the way the verification works currently at Hive is that a block is assigned to a random validator, and that validator essentially verifies that block. And by verifying, they would just publish a hash of the data to the Hive blockchain. So what we want to do really is go and building on that for allowing the community to make these decisions. We will open up the validator to allow pretty much anyone with minimal computer configuration to run this software to be able to help the ecosystem and verify and publish transactions on chain. So yeah, so that's pretty much the rewards. How it comes is that every time you actually publish or verify a transaction, you essentially get a rewards in GLX for doing that. And by doing that, we're incentivizing people to hold a validator node and be able to, participate in the governance of the system. In other words,
Yeah, just there's so much to that validator piece. I mean, it's really like it's almost like an entire layer 2 blockchain that we are asking people to run nodes for, run the daemon for. So, if you haven't run like a Bitcoin node, you might not really understand how powerful that is. But let me try to explain at the fundamental level. What we're really trying to do is make decentralized games. So, the reason why people like decentralized money is that there's not one entity that's in control of it. If you have money in a bank and that bank decides that they don't want to give you access, you don't have access. And that's because some bank manager has control over whether or not you have access. And the whole point about these kind of blockchains is that, well, maybe we shouldn't give any one central authority that access or that privilege. And maybe it's better if we let a whole bunch of degens out in the world run these things independently from one another for whatever reason that they're coming to with. And let's see what happens if we allow all these different people to run these servers and not give anybody full control of how this thing operates. And that way the money is yours, and you're literally the person operating it. You know, when you go into the bank and you want your money, it's some banker that is running some program, and they're the ones that have access. But if you're operating on the blockchain and it's decentralized, you know, you're asking anybody that's running the Bitcoin network to help you, and then all the Bitcoin network is verifying that data. And we're doing the same thing that Bitcoin is doing, but now we're doing it for the entire gaming platform. You know, we got to roll that out in stages, but ultimately this is a way that you, the player, are in control of running the server, running the system, playing the game. You are not only the, like, I don't know, passive consumer. You are, like, in many ways the owner operator of that system. The second that you start owning and staking the governance token, you know, you get decision making like an owner. And the second that you're running one of these validator nodes, you get decision making like one of the operators of the system. And that to me is how we decentralize all of the parts of this game and put it in the hands of the players, you know. And that I think is pretty revolutionary. You can see what it's done for currency. Now imagine what it does for gaming. And so, you know, in this white paper, we have some distribution going for some distribution going out to the people that you know, are stakers of the SBS token. That's the airdrop. We have some that's going to go out to people that are operating the validator node. There's some that's reserved for liquidity pools. There's 5 of these kind of general, you know, places where the money is going, and each one of those is helping to, you know, distribute tokens throughout the ecosystem. They all have a purpose to help, you know, put power in the hands of people and incentivize them for certain behaviors. And you know, the validator nodes is just one of those 5 buckets that we're putting it, because we need people to own and operate this system and have it not just be Splinterlands, a corporation, but really be in the hands of all of the Genesis League sports players.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So have we hit all 5 of the buckets yet? Did we talk about each one of these?
One last one. So the DAO essentially is the next one. So 100 million half on day one, and then the other one will be done over 65 months. But again, keep in mind that the DAO also will have control of the 1.4 billion GLX tokens that will be available for future partnerships. And the idea is that us as a team, as we get new partners, we will recommend, just like we did for the MLSPA, we recommended 100 million tokens will be awarded to people that play the game over the course of 5 seasons. So really, like, in the future, the DAO will be able to decide what is that amount for what partnership. Obviously, some partnership could be bigger than others, and the amount could vary based from one partnership to the other. So this is where the DAO is super important. It will help streamline these decisions. And yeah, so the DAO will receive 100 million, half on day one and the other on over 64 months, you know, at the beginning of each month.
So again, it's another sign and another commitment from this company to go say, we're going to put the bulk of this not in the hands of us as a corporation. You know, the goal is for us to go make it so that the players themselves are the owners, the operators, the decision makers. You know, we'll help code things, we'll help make things go live, but we want you guys to be the people that feel like you're actually designing this and doing the whole thing. So I think that's a big part of that. Okay, so that's go on.
No, I said those are the buckets essentially, right? Like Some of it is just rewards for staking, liquidity, validator rewards, and then the other are SPS airdrop, and then the DAO funds. And then the rest is really just play to earn rewards that we hope we bring a lot of different partnerships and be able to use it all. Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of gets us to the high level of Genesis League sports. Can you tell us a little bit more specifically about this white paper? Like what is this game that's part of Genesis League sports? What are we doing? How does it work? Like what kind of actions do I have? What am I buying? Just like all of it. There's not a lot of public information out there. How tell me about the game and tell me about how it works.
Totally. Yep. So the game is going to be a soccer game, almost manager style. I hate to use I'm not a big fan of using the manager style, but definitely in some ways it has two components. The first component is that you'll be able to match against other people based on your deck. You play a soccer game. The format is a little different it's not a full 45 minutes for each half. Obviously, it's a little bit quicker than that. But the idea is that you build a team and then you play against other people in leagues, tournaments, etc. Now, a lot of the details I would love to just kind of announce them in the white paper on the 11th. So I just don't want to give too much details, but essentially we're working with the MLSPA. So a big aspect of this is working with a major sports organization. So there is a lot of work as far as the IP, making sure that we are using their IP in the best possible way. The biggest aspect of the game is just really, it takes a lot of concepts from Splinterlands. So people will be able to have players, they can upgrade them, they can combine them. We're implementing new concepts as far as what you can do in the game and the actions, but a lot of it, luckily, we are able to leverage the same concept from Splinterlands to be able to kind of like build some of the core concepts. As I've mentioned, the game is going to be fast format, right? Like 3 to 5 minutes. It's pretty much you play one game and then you move to the next one. You will earn rewards. There is all sorts of essentially layers of rewards based on where you're playing, regular match, tournament, etc. Obviously, player NFTs will be the focus of the game. So you have the team is represented by players, and each player has a card, an NFT, and has its stats. I'm gonna not give too many details about the stats and all that until the white paper comes, but we have a lot of cool skills, a lot of cool, actually new concepts that we are exploring as far as like making sure that each card and each player, you can kind of customize it to the way that you want. If you understand soccer and you want a player to focus on a specific aspect, defense, attack, all of those will be able to do that. So there will be other types of NFTs in the game that helps obviously make the game more fun, more engaging. It ranges from things like equipment, again, I do not want to give too many details, but it's things that complement and supplement the player and the player card. So our goal is to, the focus is the player card, but build a whole ecosystem around it of fun things that you can add to the player card to make sure that the player is progressing, you earn that kind of progress in the game, you are able to go and sell it to other people that are interested in those players, etc. So I hope that makes sense, Aggie.
Well, so give me a sense of gameplay. So like, tell me what this is going to look like. My assumption would be something like, I go to a shop. Maybe there's a spellbook equivalent. If I'm going to address this audience, I think it's mostly Splinterlands players that are in here. Maybe not entirely Splinterlands players that are in here, but I see a lot of them. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to buy like something like a spellbook, and then I'm going to get some cards. And after I start collecting those cards, I'm going to put them on a team, and then I hit like match or play or something. And then what would that look like? How are these cards different from Splinterlands cards, and how is this match different? Like is it completely auto battler? Are there more places where I put in my own like decision making?
Yeah.
Give me a little bit more detail at the high level of how
Yeah,
this works.
you start. So soccer, you need 10 players and one goalie, and one coach. So that's kind of like your starting deck. So you have those cards. You get matched off against someone else. Now, the biggest thing that we are kind of like a little different from Splinterlands is that this game, although it's 3 to 5 minutes, it still requires some user involvement. Again, we want to, the soccer is very contextual and situation based, so there's going to be some involvement from the user, which we think is going to make it even more engaging as you kind of like have duel against other players, and as you kind of progress through the field, you can make decisions as far as strategy, as far as like defense, attack, things like that. So again, I can't share too much until like the white paper is finalized and added on the 11th. But really, that's the biggest shift from Splinterlands, is that this game will be a little bit more. It will require user interaction because it's very important that we create a soccer game that kind of implement some of the strategies around soccer, make it a little bit more realistic. And it's a little bit tough to have an auto battler in soccer without, having a user interaction. It could be a little bit repetitive and gets in like those infinite loops, what we call in games.
I want to ask Chiclet a couple of questions. So you and Carrie are sort of working on the designs. Carrie couldn't be here today, but we do expect her to be in some of the later ones. How are you trying to make this experience feel like for players? What do you think that they'll be doing? What do you think that they'll be clicking? And, what are there decisions that they make? Is it like a reaction style game? Help me. I know that we're not quite releasing images just yet, but can you help me kind of understand what this thing might look like?
Yeah, I think one of the things to keep people engaged is we're gonna have these really awesome designs for all the collector cards. I mean, the best part about that is we have our players, all of these MLS players. Um, the backs will have their stats, so we'll be able to go through and see what the stats are with the players. Um, I can't share too much of the secret behind what is going on. And, Carrie, of course, has a lot of those other details. But just as you're walking through the platform and going through all of your cards, we have a few other like mechanisms for uh, taking a look at them, displaying them, making it a little bit more dynamic, so that it's exciting to go through. Um, we um, for right now, we haven't like gone too much past like the pack sale. I mean, there are a lot of details in the design of the game, so like I said, I don't want to share too much there. But I think as we look into this, we want to make sure that it is engaging. We're keeping all the players in here, even if it is just to shuffle through the cards, because I think for me, that's one of the most like exciting parts of this. Um, whether they're player cards or the other special cards that we'll have in here.
Should we expect something that's like 8-bit? Is this photorealistic? Is it, just can you talk a little bit about the design stuff?
It's going to be realistic. So we're trying to stick to that. We want to be able to use the players' images. So you really get that feel that it's you might not be holding these cards, right? But that's like that pack that you went to the store and you bought. So you're seeing these players as close to real life as possible. Um, in terms of the style for the UI of the game, that is still TBD and being worked on. And again, I don't want to share too much. I don't want to give too much away because there's going to be a lot to look forward to here.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
So,
one thing here to keep in mind, like for the community, is that we work here with this is different. We work with an organization. Most of the sports organization are very secretive. They don't like to talk about these things until they're ready. So we got to always be careful from our end. Like for me, my first job is making sure that we don't lose this partnership with MLSPA. So from that perspective, that is information that we can't share until it gets signed off and approved from MLSPA, because we are using their name and we want to make sure as we use their name, we don't make anything that, that just jeopardize their brand. And we're very aware of that. So, but to answer your question, Aggie, we have big plans for the game. We will have amazing audio as well as, video and visual. We'll have announcers. I can't go too much in details, but we will have all of that ambiance that will make sure that you are in a soccer stadium legitimately. And that's the whole goal, right? Is that you play for 2-3 minutes and you have a whole like ambiance there during the game. After the game is over, you can go back to your deck. You can, player, you can upgrade them, train them, send them to heal them, all these different things that we have in the game that at a high level I can speak about. But yeah, I mean, we're implementing it in a realistic way. So you have your team in on the pitch, but outside the pitch, you gotta still have to upgrade your cards. You have to think about what players do you need, where are you getting beaten. Some players might focus on defense, some on attack, might realize that other people have better cards, attack cards or defense cards that just work better. So yeah, so there's that strategy aspect, I think, and then there's also like the play against other people, try to see if your team is actually up to the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have people. You mentioned stadiums, and the audience is mentioning stadiums. Stadiums kind of feel like the land equivalent to the Splinterlands. Is there anything you want to say about like the stadium aspect of the game at this point?
I can't share too much, but what I can say is that for us, like we look into gamifying all sorts of sports, right? Like sports is an entire world. It's not just this player, it's the stadium that where they play, it's the clinic where they get healed or go get some physical therapy. There's a whole ecosystem around sports, and for us, like step by step, we want to replicate that exactly how it works in the real life. So to answer your story, yes, we have plans for stadiums, and they're really good, and I'm super excited to share that once we finalizing. Like, just to be completely transparent, we're specking that like as we speak, like in this week. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to share like what the vision around stadiums and how they're gonna be super impactful. You know, yeah, there's gonna be that's a whole game on its own that essentially like will complement the game. It's not like a separate game, but it's like a whole thing that we're gonna gamify as part of Genesis League Soccer MLSPA is the stadium.
Hey, Chatter, you mentioned in chat here just the MLSPA. Like, can you talk some about your experience kind of working with them, talking with them, communicating with them? Is that frequent, infrequent? Like, how does that take shape? What interaction are they adding to this game?
Yeah, so we're sitting in probably 2 to 4 meetings with them a week right now. It's been a lot of kind of extensive communication there, and that's everyone from marketing teams to their design teams to coordinating with one team who's another kind of partner that we've worked with kind of as an intermediary in kind of all this connection here. But it's been awesome working with them. Their team is lovely. They're all super smart people. They're all super really well connected. And I mean, just kind of we're at the point now where we're looking at starting to actually incorporate players into the game, into marketing campaigns, so on and so forth here. So that's everything from figuring out what players are going on, like the card art and the pack art and everything, and trying to get all the logistics there, to figuring out marketing campaigns too. So the kind of big thing to announce, I guess, on the marketing side of things is we're going to be working with a handful of players, and that's going to be setting up a whole bunch of video campaigns. We're looking at getting ads going and how kind of targeting and everything's going to be working there. But the entire process has been really lovely working with them so far.
Okay. And then how are we planning on like getting the word out for this game? What's the strategy? How do we let people know that there is a soccer game?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a little bit of everything. I mean, ads are going to be a nice little starting point there to hopefully bring some hype around the game. From that, we're going to be doing a lot of kind of doubling down, whether that be more social side of things, whether that's community enablement and really hosting competitions to help get the community spread the word, whether that's physical marketing in stadiums themselves. We were talking about potentially doing like a little pack thing outside stadiums for games themselves, where we're handing out like physical packs that will have QR codes and whatnot to get people kind of involved in the game. But I think there's going to be so many different ways that we can market this. I think the kind of core comparisons between MLSPA and then Genesis League Soccer relative to something like Splinterlands is one is grounded mainly in this kind of digital fantasy space, being Splinterlands, whereas the actual MLS is a physical league. We can go and do physical marketing around that. We can have student ambassadors in universities. We can really do a million and one things with this. So just really excited to see kind of what we can do.
So
One of the
the
things, Aggie, is like, I mean, for us, like we also want to bring new fans into this ecosystem, play to earn ecosystem. I think it's an important goal of ours in the long term, and I think all of that resolves to user experience. So for us, as we build all of these tools, the websites that we're building, user experience, usability is the biggest thing. Like for us, like we want to make sure that we can onboard crypto native and non-crypto native in just a matter of a clicks, and that starts with support for different types of crypto also, as well as like regular payment methods. So for us, like, yeah, we want to definitely bridge the gap and finally make play to earn seamless games where you just play them without even really noticing that anything is happening on chain. And I think that's for us, like when we really win, is that we build everything on chain but no one really noticed that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the beauty of having Splinterlands as our big learning experience here. Like this team has almost 5 years of experience under their belt, really perfecting this Web3 approach and the model behind it. And so the whole kind of idea of frictionless onboarding and on-ramping that we've seen in Splinterlands, whether that's fiat on-ramping, whether that's using kind of credits to unlock your wallet, so on and so forth, to be able to really get into the game seamlessly, is all ideas that we can take away and essentially just inject into this game. So it'll be really cool to see what new markets and what new demographics we can really bring into this game.
No, all of this sounds pretty cool. I guess one question is, where are we actually at? So, Dante, you've been actually building this site and kind of putting it together. Where are you? Are you just starting? Have we been working on this for a while? Like, where are you at in development, and sort of what are the biggest boxes still left to be checked, or kind of walk us through some of the design that went into this and progress that you've made to date.
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of the development, we've been going through the new authentication system, staking, unstaking, rewards, airdrops as well, and purchasing packs through various purchasing payment methods such as PayPal and crypto, Hive, uh, Binance Chain, and Ethereum is included as well. We've been really working hard as to updating the white label validator, which Don earlier briefly touched. And basically what that means is we expand the capabilities for pushing through more contract actions or events per transactions. To kind of translate that, it basically on a very high level gives us the ability to move even more cards on a single blockchain transaction. It allows us to develop a multi-tiered, multi-event gameplays. And basically what that means is, instead of choosing your cards, sorting the order, and placing them on the table, now throughout that battle, midway, you can actually change your strategy up, and you can actually, place in, and these, don't quote me on any of this, but you could, change your cards, or maybe midway through the game, the weather changes and it starts raining. And now some players will be better than others, vice versa. Just little things like that we've made improvements in. In terms of what's missing, honestly, just nailing down the actual game stage itself, and that's it.
What about the pack sale website, right? Like, so that we're in the next, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks. We're supposed to have a pack sale site up and ready. Are we going to make that deadline? Or like, are we going to be able to sell these packs, or are players going to be able to buy them? When do we think that they can open cards? Like, any just of the really basic questions that a player might have.
I can talk about timeline for sure. Yeah, pack sale will be ready on the 18th. People will be able to buy their packs on the 18th. Now, one thing to keep in mind as far as opening the cards, as we work with these sports leagues, we have to follow their season. So we can only open the cards February 1st, and that's where it's scheduled to be. So that way we can get the most up-to-date roster that's been finalized over the last season. The season ends essentially towards the October, almost end of November. And then they go into break, then they come back. And so as they come back, we have the most up-to-date roster with all the transfers and all that. So people will be able to open their cards in February 1st, and then the game is gonna be probably a couple of months after that, no later. I'm hoping we're still on track for, I'm thinking March 15th, but again, this is, all these dates are subject to change sometimes, but that's what we're doing. We're trying to be aggressive as far as like how we push this game, because we're excited. We want to get this game out there as soon as possible, and then start the process of, making improvements, new features, and kind of build the whole ecosystem around it. So does that make sense?
I think so, and I'm not seeing too many questions coming out of the chat.
Yeah, please throw any questions at me, please.
Are there things that we've missed that we want to make sure that we talk about? I think we talked about most of the tokenomics. We talked about the game platform. We did an overview of the main GLS white paper. I guess we could talk really specifics about the white paper for the soccer game in particular.
Yeah, so I would rather that we just share that to the world. I think that if we talk about it too much, it would, like, I can't wait to show the visuals. This white paper is going to be a little bit visual with actual things that you will see. So I don't want to spoil like, essentially, yeah, like, it would be great to wait till the 11th, and it will worth it, I promise you, because we're just really showing the actual game, how it's going to play. Like, we're, committing ourselves to delivering this game, and we want to share actually that version, so that way we are held accountable. Like I said, for the Genesis League soccer white paper, what I can disclose at least is the different types of cards, player cards. There is item cards, which essentially allow you to embed on the player or use in the game for a certain action or a certain kind of activity that you need to do within the game. These cards will be all shared on the 11th. You will know what they do, what their name, kind of behavior, upgrade details, things like that. All of that will be in there. I just don't want to spoil the beans too much and kind of share too much here. But Liam and I are preparing, like, we'll prepare a little PR and make sure that everyone is aware with the white paper, and, yeah. And the reason why I can't talk about it too much is because it is currently, like, being sent to MLSPA for final approval. Takes 10 days. We can actually move after that. And I can't share something that has not been approved from the MLSPA, just to avoid any backlash or any issues. So my apologies as far as that.
We got a question here about how are we going to handle real life transfers? So if players are going back and forth in these teams, whether they're traded, whether they retire. I guess it's less important if they retire, but what happens to cards? Because these are real people, right? They're not just like wizards and orcs that we created. They're real people that have real careers. What happens if in the first couple of weeks somebody switches teams?
So, good question. For now, we only have the license for the MLSPA, so we can use teams from the MLS. So where they play is kind of a little bit irrelevant to us. What we care about is their stats and how good they are. And just because we can make reference to teams as of now. Now, we want in the future to get that second piece of the IP, which is the MLS itself. And then we can use teams and make even the game a little bit more realistic. But the reality of our partnership is strictly with the MLSPA, so we can't even mention transfers between teams or anything of that sort.
Okay, we got maybe 10 minutes left. What other high level things do you think we need to cover with the audience today?
For me, like, this session, and hopefully, like, in the next few, it's important to just kind of realize for me, it's important to explain, like, the big vision of Genesis League Sports, right? Like, in the next few weeks, you'll start hearing more and more about Genesis League Sports, as the overarching kind of ecosystem of Genesis League Soccer. Again, we are obviously looking to partner with other people. We can't share anything final yet. We hope to do that at some point, but Obviously, our goal is not to have one single partnership. We want to be able to deliver the MLSPA game and then go get another partner. At the end of the day, these games are very reusable. So whether we get the rights to MLSPA or any other league, the game is still the same. We might need to do some configuration, but that's the beauty of what Dan is building and the engineering team is building, is that we rebuild these things. When we took Splinterland code base, we kind of revamped it with the ideas that we want to be able to always have flexible architecture that allow us to kind of move quick. So like for us, the biggest thing for me today is to understand that Genesis League Sports is kind of the whole ecosystem. We are very happy to be working on Genesis League Soccer MLSPA. And as soon as we deliver that, we'll be looking at, doing other things and partner with other people. So.
Okay. Yeah, so we're expecting more partners to come along with this. Actually, one of the ones I was talking to recently was a fighting league, and we expect to see professional fighting become a part of Genesis League Sports. And one of the things that they said to me was like, "Hey, we're already into NFTs, and the first NFTs we minted were on OpenSea, but they didn't get a lot of traction because OpenSea is too big. And then they went and they minted some tokens on their own website, and they were frustrated because that was too small, and there weren't enough people of their audience that were just their audience that wanted NFTs." So when we explained what we're doing, where it's this kind of like cross-sport, cross-league platform, they got really excited because that felt like this kind of Goldilocks moment where it was neither too big nor too small, but right in that sweet spot where it's all sports related. You don't have to fight against everybody for every kind of conceivable NFT. It's just the ones that are sports. So we feel like that's a good compromise there, and we're hoping that this is going to be the kind of thing that brings lots of these different sports together and start sharing. And you guys will all have a common currency that goes across the line that you can trade and use and earn. And we think by having this kind of like general sports platform that's really going to help us attract players, but also make the life of the individual leagues a little bit easier. So I do hope to see additional partners coming along, and we've signed some additional MOUs and whatnot. Will they all airdrop to SPS stakers? No, only the initial one is gonna. So like each different game that's part of GLX or GLS is not. We're not going to do an airdrop every single time we bring another league in. That's going to be specific to those games and those leagues. But it's really for this first one of like all, it's something like 20% of all initial tokens go to the SPS stakers.
Yep.
All right.
And Egg, there's a few questions if you scroll up. I'm just going to tag you in that first one there, but underneath that post, there's probably 5 or 6 questions from the community.
Underneath that, there's a bunch. All right. Question from a Discord user who don't speak English. Will there be transcripts of GLX? This like there is with SBL, this town halls. Oh, he means town halls. Will there be transcripts of GLS town halls like there is with Splinterlands town halls? So there's players in the ecosystems that do them. That's not generally just from Splinterlands. If there are people that are in this audience that want to translate the town halls, you should certainly do that. Any chance the upcoming World Cup is incorporated into any cards, games, etc.? I mean, we're hoping it will be. There's still some work to be done on that. Will game feature audible crowd chanting and the wave? Yeah, we're hoping for interactive, features of how the audience can participate. In the past, projects that involved intellectual property have failed in spectacular ways. Looking at Alpha and Delta Force, after they failed to renew the right to use said intellectual property, how do you plan to prevent anything like that from happening? Obviously, Splinterlands doesn't have this problem, given that it's all intellectual property is done in-house from scratch. Yeah, all the terms we're signing are either 3 or 5 year terms, and then most of them will auto renew. So, with these sports, it's possible that we won't be able to mint new cards in an ecosystem or a game at some point. But we'll have the rights to everything that we've done, and all that stuff is we're planning for it. Any updates with respect to the distribution of nodes, price, number of airdrops for Splinterland nodes owners? No, that hasn't been concluded
Quarter
yet.
one, quarter one, 2023. We'll have that.
Yeah.
Our goal first is realistically put liquidity out there of GLX. So that's staking, airdrop, liquidity, and then DAO, and then we'll get to the validator rewards. Yeah.
Will there be incentives to buying stadiums before its release? We're still finalizing the stadiums, and then we can finalizing the release, and then we can finalize what value there will be before release.
And building up to that question on stadiums, there is a page on the Genesis League Sports Stadium about stadiums and arenas. So that info is what we can share. And essentially, again, like the stadiums are a piece of real estate that you'll be able to leverage in the game. And I can't share too much details how you can leverage it, but I'll let you all's imagination, kind of like how would you leverage a stadium in a game. So but yeah, it's going to be something that essentially you can own, you can use, you can leverage to get earn rewards, pretty much like almost passive income style. So more on that to come.
All right, we got just a couple minutes left. Is there anybody on the team that didn't get to share something that was important to them, or they felt like they ought to say? Did we miss any highlights or key points here?
No, I think we're good. Again, I will, I'll be on Discord, so I'm there. Just ping me if you have any questions. I'm around. Dan is there as well, Liam. So the whole team is on Discord. Yeah, just let us know.
Yeah, so the stadiums we're currently planning on being across all games. So there's like limited land in the whole world, and then only you'll have to pick and choose which sport you want to bring your stadium into. I think we should call it here. This is a good amount of information to begin by sharing. I know you guys want more visuals. We're trying to lock down the approvals from our partners in order to be able to share them. It is not that we don't have visuals; it's that we don't have rights yet. Just share them across with everybody. So we're gonna keep coming.
Let them know that
Well,
that we're going to be on GLS socials next time instead of
yeah,
Splinter.
we're gonna be moving to the sort of new socials and making sure like we're using Splinterland's official right now, but we'll be switching everything over more consistently to everything being branded for Genesis League Sports. So thanks for chiming in. Thanks for hearing about this project. We're really excited about it. Thanks to the team that's here. They're really taking the lead on making sure that all this stuff gets developed and put in place and looking beautiful. I'd encourage you all to go to genesisleaguesports.com, check out our white paper, and then there's going to be more updates as we go. But that's the first town hall. Thanks everybody, and thanks for listening.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.